Tale of an Orphan, Part 6. The next morning, Fatima could barely wake up. Her body refused to move. She had washed clothes all through the night, not stopping until around 2 in the morning. By the time she finished, her arms were sore, her back ached, and her fingers felt numb. But she had no choice. Even after all that, sleep did not come easily. Hunger gnawed at her stomach, sharp and persistent. The little food she had managed to eat the previous afternoon was not enough to keep her through the day until that moment. Later that evening, after dinner, Farouk had secretly saved a small portion of his food for her, but before she could eat it, Ibrahim saw them and reported immediately. Salamatu came out in anger, snatched the food and threw it away without a second thought. "I told you," she said coldly, "if you didn't bring back my money, you will not eat in this house." Fatima had stood there, silent, but her fragile heart broke into tiny pieces. Salamatu would rather throw the food away than for her to eat it. Even at that, Salamatu didn't stop. "And after 3 days, if you refuse to return my 10,000 naira, she added, your brother will join you. I will not waste my hard-earned money feeding children who are mismanaging it and even ungrateful." Those words stayed with Fatima. They were heavy and painful. Now, lying on the tin mat, her body weak and her stomach empty, she struggled even to open her eyes. She was too tired, too hungry, too drained. Sleep had only come in bits and pieces, restless and uncomfortable. So when morning came, her body refused to respond. She didn't wake up on her own. Instead, cold water splashed across her face. Fatima gasped, jerking awake. She sat up immediately, shivering as the water soaked into her clothes and skin. Standing over her was Salamatu. Her expression was hard and without any iota of empathy. She said, "Get up! If you continue to sleep and laze around, how do you expect to return my 10,000 naira?" Salamatu's voice was sharp. "Look at you, sleeping as if you work more than everyone in this house. Get up now before I pour more cold water on you." Fatima slowly raised her head and looked at her. A quiet anger stirred inside her. 10,000 naira. She did not understand why she kept saying that. The money was not even up to that. What happened to the remaining 1,500 naira of her camo? What happened to the 3,000 naira she gave her? Why was she saying 10,000 naira? Why was she making everything more difficult? But Fatima said nothing. She could not say anything. She swallowed her thoughts, rubbed her face, and slowly got up. Her body still ached deeply. But what choice did she have? She went outside, washed her face, and performed ablution, observed a Subhi prayer. After praying, she went to check on her brother. Farouk was leaning against the wall in their room. He looked lonely, even though his siblings were around him. The moment he saw her, his face softened. "Are you okay?" he asked gently. Fatima forced a small smile. Farouk nodded quietly, as if answering his own question. "Don't worry about me," Fatima said softly. "As long as you are fine, I can endure anything," she said, placing her hand on his shoulder. "But promise me something. Promise me you will excel. Focus on your study. Study very well and make me proud." Farouk nodded again. "I will work hard and I will excel, inshallah," he said. Fatima smiled faintly. "This phase of our lives will pass," she continued. "I don't know when, but it will." She paused, then added, "Don't let anyone intimidate you. Don't let anyone bully you, and don't look for trouble." Farouk listened quietly. After speaking with him, Fatima stood up and picked up her bucket. She didn't wait for Salamatu to call her. She didn't wait to be reminded. She already knew what she had to do. For now, this was her only option: to serve, to endure, and to survive. But deep inside, she had made a decision. She would look for another way, a better way. Not the kind Rashida suggested, not a path that would destroy her future, not a path filled with fear and regret. She will find a way that will lift her and her brother, not ruin them. With that resolve in her heart, she stepped out of the house. As she walked through the neighborhood, She carefully avoided passing near Kabir's house. The fear of what happened the previous day still lingered in her chest. She did not want to see him. She prayed never to see him again. Now, time passed slowly. Eventually, most of the akamu she carried were sold. Only a few remained, not even up to 1,000 naira. Without realizing it, her steps led her somewhere familiar, somewhere she longed to be, the government secondary school. She stopped under a tree, a few steps away from the school main gate, where she was able to see the happenings in and around the school. Her heart tightened. She watched students walk in and out. Some laughed, some walked, some ran, and some were being punished for coming late. Fatima stood there quietly, watching, a word she longed for, a life she almost had. She wanted to go in, but she couldn't. If she did, it would only deepen the pain in her heart. So she stood there for a while, holding on to the bucket of akamu, her eyes fixed on the student. Then slowly she turned away, but she hadn't gone far when suddenly someone called out behind her, "Kay!" That wasn't a name. It was not necessary to call for her, but instinctively Fatima turned at the sound. Standing behind her was the young woman she had seen in the classroom the previous day, the one in a white t-shirt with NYSA boldly written across it. "Good morning, ma," Fatima greeted, a small smile forming on her lips as she walked back towards her. As she looked at the young woman, admiration filled her heart. There was something about her confidence, her composure, the way she carried herself. "I want to be like her," Fatima thought subconsciously. At first, she had always dreamed of becoming a medical doctor, someone who saved lives, but after seeing this woman teach with such passion and calmness, another dream began to form. She suddenly wished to become a teacher, someone who gives knowledge. The thought confused her, but in the end, it didn't matter. All she truly wanted was success, to have an access to education. "How are you?" the young woman asked kindly. "Weren't you the one who answered my question yesterday?" Fatima lowered her head shyly. "Yes, ma, it was me." "Did someone stop you from coming today?" the young woman asked. Fatima hesitated. No one stopped me. I just think coming over isn't necessary anymore," she said softly. "Why? Is it because of what you are carrying?" the woman asked, pointing at the bucket in her hand. Fatima gave a small sad smile. "Yes and no." The woman frowned slightly. "What do you mean?" Fatima took a deep breath. "Yes, it's because of this," she said, lifting the bucket slightly. "But also because I don't want to fall deeply in love with education." The woman looked at her, surprised. Fatima continued. "I want it, but I can't have it because of my situation," she said. Her voice trembled slightly. "The more I come close to it, the more it will hurt me. So it's better I stay away and let life take its course." There was silence for a moment. Then the young woman asked softly, "You really want to go to school?" Fatima nodded immediately. "Yes, I want to become someone like you. I wish to wear the uniform you wore yesterday." The young woman smiled gently. Without asking, she could tell that she wanted education, but she did not have the means. "This is a government school," she said. "There are no school fees. You only need a uniform and some basic materials." "I know," Fatima replied. "Even those are difficult for me." She paused and continued. "I am an orphan." "Well, not outrightly an orphan," she said and raised her head. "My mother is late and my father," she trailed off, shaking her head. "I am like an orphan," she finished quietly. "Then those things are like luxury to me." The young woman's expression changed. "Who do you live with?" she asked. "My father and my stepmother," Fatima replied. "She's not sponsoring me, but she's sponsoring my younger brother from the same mother." The young woman went silent for a few seconds. Her eyes moved from Fatima's face down to the bucket she was holding. Then she looked back at her. "What is your name?" "Fatima." "Do you really want to be liberated?" the young lady asked. Fatima bobbed her head eagerly. "Yes." "Good," the young lady said. "Do you know the big estate across this neighborhood?" she asked. Fatima nodded. "Yes, ma. Shagari Estate." "Good. Come there this afternoon," the young woman said. "Let me see how I can help you." Fatima's eyes widened slightly. When you get to the security post, tell them you are going to Gidambuno. They will direct you. When you reach the house, tell whoever you meet that you are looking for Auntie Balikis," she added. Fatima didn't know what to say. All she could feel at that moment was the beating of her heart. It was beating very fast, as though it would break out of her chest. For the first time in a long while, she felt awful. "Thank you, ma," she said softly. The young woman smiled. "Now go home," she said gently. "A young girl walking around is not safe. Too many bad things can happen." She paused, then added firmly, "And make sure you come this afternoon. I'll be waiting for you." Fatima nodded, clutching her bucket tightly. She turned and began to walk away. But this time, her steps felt different. It felt lighter, as if, somewhere ahead, a door had just begun to open. But she hadn't gone far when she suddenly stopped. Her steps froze. A thought crept into her mind. What if that woman is another Rashida? Her grip tightened on the bucket as she trembled all over. What if she is only trying to lead me into the same path? Her heart began to beat faster, as though it would leap out of her mouth. She suddenly became scared. What if she wants to ruin my life too? The questions came out after another, refusing to stop. Fatima swallowed hard and made a deep breath. She had no answer for all the troubling questions. What if? She whispered under her breath. She stood on the same spot, looking confused and uncertain. If she turns out to really be like Rashida, do I have any other choice? For a moment, fear took over her thoughts. Then suddenly, that face appeared again, cold, fierce, and threatening. Fatima felt a shiver run down her spine, and she shook her head quickly, as if trying to throw the image away. "No," she muttered to herself. "I will not listen to anything that will destroy me or make me live my life in fear." Her voice grew firmer. "I will not follow that path." She took a step forward, then paused again. Another thought came, but what if she's not Rashida? Fatima hesitated. The young woman didn't look like someone like that. She spoke with kindness. She carried herself with dignity. And if she truly meant evil, Fatima exhaled slowly. If she turns out to be like Rashida, she said within herself, I will leave immediately, just the same way I walked away yesterday. Her eyes hardened with quiet determination. I will not follow anyone who wants to trade my life. I will not do anything that will put my Onsalama to sleep. Her step became more confident. I will not ruin my future. There's something deeper rose within her, a memory. Her Islamic teacher's voice echoing in her mind. When you do good, when you follow the path of righteousness, and you follow the words of the Quran and Hadith, you will be reunited with your loved ones on the day of Qiyamah. Fatima's eyes softened. My Ummah. A wave of emotion passed through her. I want to see her again, she whispered as she tried to remember what her mother looked like. She wiped her face quickly and straightened herself. With that thought, her doubt began to fade. I will go, she decided. Maybe she saw Allah has sent to help me and my brother, she said and nodded to herself. But if she is not, her jaw tightened. I will run as far as my legs can carry me. She lifted her bucket and continued walking. I will never destroy my life. Her voice was quiet but filled with resolve, because I want to see my mother again. Then suddenly, her face fell again. A new worry crept into her heart. What if the woman truly wants to help me? She slowed her steps again. What will I tell Salama to? What will I tell my father? Her chest tightened as she pondered over the questions. Would they even allow me to go? Would they agree for me to sponsor my education if she really wanted to? The questions weighed heavily on her. Hope began to fade again. Fatima sighed softly, her shoulders dropping. She didn't know what she would say if everything turned out to be what she wanted. She didn't know how she would be able to convince them. She didn't even know where to begin. For a moment, she felt completely lost. Then, a quiet thought rose within her. Go and see her first, Fatima blinked. After seeing her, you will know what to say and how to face Salamatu and your father. She stopped walking. That makes sense. Why worry about everything at once? Why fight a battle she had not even entered? Slowly, she lifted her head. A small strength returned to her. Yes, she whispered. I will see her first. With that decision, something inside her settled. She adjusted the bucket in her hand and continued walking home. This time, there was a faint smile on her face. There is one thing she is sure of. Whatever will happen, and that will never happen, will never happen, no matter the amount of effort invested into it. Fatima could hardly wait for the afternoon to come. All she wanted was to go and visit the beautiful young lady. She knew she can't go out without any reason. She will have to wait till late in the afternoon. That was the time she would be sent out again with another bucket to hug, and that time would give her the opportunity to go to the estate and meet the beautiful young lady. The thought alone filled her with excitement and hope, something she had not felt truly in a long time. She moved quickly around the house, quickly doing her chores, and would go to any errand without her usual reluctance. She became restless and eager for Salamatu to finish preparing the peppered awara and arrange inside the bucket. Salamatu noticed her urgency, but she misunderstood it. She assumed Fatima was eager for something else, something inappropriate. She thought she was rushing because of the plan Rashida had introduced to her, a plan involving a man, a dangerous path for a girl at her age, a path Salamatu believed will ruin her, and strangely, she did not try to stop her. Instead, deep inside her, she welcomed it. Deep in her heart, she wanted her to be useless in life. One of Salamatu's fears is Fatima to be compared with her daughter. She did not want that to happen. She wanted her daughter to be far above her, to be untouchable. So if Fatima chose a path that would destroy her, so be it. It only made things easier. That was her silent wish. Fatima, however, knew nothing of this. She only carried hope in her heart, and she believed one day she would sing a new song. The moment the bucket was ready, she lifted it eagerly and stepped out of the house. Without wasting time, she headed straight for Shagari Estate, that is only a few streets away from their street. As she walked, people called out to her, "K, me awara, kikao." Fatima heard the calls, but she ignored them. The day was not about selling, it was about her life, her future. Her steps were quick, her heart was pounding. She couldn't wait to hear what the young lady had for her. When she finally reached the gate of the estate, she stopped. Two heavily guarded security men stood there. They looked fierce and imposing. She wanted to turn back out of fear, but their eyes were already on her. They looked at her and at the bucket on her head. But before she could even speak, one of them shook his head. "No hawking here," he said firmly. Fatima's heart dropped. "Please," she said quickly, stepping forward. "I'm not here to sell." The men looked at her again, but this time they looked unconvinced. "If you are not here to sell, what are you here for? This is not a place for someone like you." Fatima swallowed. "I am here to see someone," she said softly. "Who?" one of the security guard asked, giving her a thorough look. Fatima swallowed again. "Auntie Baliki." The security men exchanged glances. There was a brief silence. Then one of them looked back at her, his expression more serious now. "Which house?" he asked. "Gidambono," Fatima said hurriedly. "I was told to ask at the gate," she said nervously. "She said I should tell you I'm looking for her." The men studied her carefully. Everything about her looked suspicious. A small girl, barely fed, carrying a hawking bucket, asking for someone inside the estate. It looked suspicious. Everyone in the estate doesn't look like anyone who will entertain such personality. One of the guards shifted slightly. "Wait here," he said. "I will have to call the house to confirm if they are expecting you," he said. He was just about to pick up the phone when another guard walked up to them. He looked at Fatima, who stood quietly by the side, her bucket still balanced carefully on her head. "Are you trying to call Gidambono?" the new guard asked. "Yes," the first man replied. This girl here says she wants to see someone there." The new guard turned to Fatima. "What is your name?" he asked. "Fatima." Fatima replied cautiously. The man nodded. "Yes, the young Hajia from the house mentioned her earlier. She said they are expecting someone. I believe this is the girl." Fatima's heart skipped, hearing that they are expecting her give her a delicious feeling. She was ecstatic about everything. You can go in, the man added. Do you know the house? Fatima shook her head. No, sir. This is my first time here. All right, he said. I will send someone to take you. He said and called one of the younger staff member and instructed him to take Fatima to the house. Fatima thought they would walk, but to her surprise, a small vehicle was brought out. It wasn't like the regular car she was used to seeing. It looked more like the type used inside large compounds or parks. Carefully, she placed her bucket at the back and climbed in. As the vehicle moved, she looked around the estate in awe. The estate was unlike anything she had ever seen before. The houses were beautiful, massive, and elegant, not even the kind she had seen in movies. Everything looked unreal. Her heart began to beat faster, and suddenly a strange fear crept in. What if this is a trap? What if they are ritualists? Her breathing became uneven as her survival instinct kicked in immediately. But then she remembered something. The security men. They were the ones who brought her in. They confirmed her name and even sent someone to take her to the house. Slowly, she calmed down. Then the vehicle finally stopped. We are here, the young security man said. Fatima stepped down with her bucket in her hand. Thank you, sir, she said politely. The vehicle drove away, leaving her standing alone. The moment it left, her already calmed heart started pounding again. She lifted her head and looked at the house in front of her. It was magnificent, intimidating, beautiful in a way that made her feel small, very small. Fatima swallowed hard. For a brief moment, she almost turned back. Fear tried to take over her again, but then she remembered why she came, her future, her brother, her dreams. Slowly, she adjusted her veil, took a deep breath, and stepped forward towards the gate. Fatima was just about to touch the gate when it suddenly opened from the inside. She became startled and quickly took a step back. A man in a security uniform different from the one she saw earlier stood before her. You must be Fatima, he said. Fatima nodded immediately. Yes, sir. My name is Fatima, and I'm here to see Auntie Balikis, she replied politely. The man's expression softened. She had been expecting you. Come inside. He stepped aside and gestured for her to enter. Fatima walked in carefully, still holding firm to her bucket. The compound was far bigger than it looked from outside. What seemed like a simple bungalow revealed more buildings behind it, well arranged, neat and beautiful. Hajia Balikis is with Big Hajia, the security man said as he led her towards another section of the compound. They stopped in front of a beautiful building. I won't follow you inside, he added. You can go in yourself, but you can leave your bucket here. Fatima nodded. Thank you, sir. She gently placed her bucket down and adjusted her scarf again. Then she stepped forward. Assalamu alaikum, she said softly as she entered. Wa alaikum assalam. Bismillah, come inside. The voice that answered was calm and elderly. Fatima stepped inside and paused after taking a few steps. The living room was breathtaking. Everything was arranged with elegance and care. It felt peaceful, almost unreal. For a moment, it felt like stepping into another world, a paradise on earth, she thought. But she quickly lowered her gaze. She reminded herself why she came. She wasn't there to admire their house. Respectfully, she walked forward and knelt down. Inawuni, Hajia, she greeted. Inawuni, my dear, how are you? The elderly woman replied warmly. I'm fine, ma, Fatima said softly. The woman smiled at her gently. Before anything more could be said, a voice came from one of the inner rooms. Then, the young woman stepped out. It was her, Auntie Balikis, the beautiful young lady with a NYSC uniform. Fatima, you are here, she said, a smile spreading across her beautiful face, as though she had known her for ages. Fatima's face lit up slightly. She did not expect such a warm welcome. Yes, ma, she replied. Her voice carried a mix of relief and hope. Balikis gestured for Fatima to sit before entering through one of the doors, while Fatima sat carefully on one of the couches, her hands resting on her knees, her body tense. A few minutes later, Balikis returned with a tray. On it were a plate of jollof rice, chicken, bottled water, and a soft drink. "Don't be nervous," Balikis said gently as she placed the tray on a small table before her. "Feel at home and enjoy the meal." Fatima wanted to reject the food, but the way she salivated and the way her stomach growled made her remember that she hadn't had anything since the one she had the previous day at Mama Ijeoma's canteen, and the food before her is not a food she can reject. She had had right before, but never this sumptuous way. Baliki smiled and turned slightly to face her mother, whose attention was already on the television. She was watching the business news from Channel Television. "Uma, this is the girl I told you about," she said. "Fatima ko?" Hajiya Zainab said, looking at Fatima, who was already devouring her food. It was obvious she hadn't had a good meal since beginning of the day. Umma," Balikis replied. "I'm Fati. This is my mother. You can call her Hajiya or Umma." Fatima bowed her head respectfully as she munched on her food. Her mouth was too full to speak. She suddenly became shy when she saw Hajiya Zainab looking at her. Hajiya Zainab smiled. "Fati, how old are you?" she asked. "I'll be 15 on the 13th of this month," Fatima replied respectfully. Hajiya Zainab slightly frowned, but before she could say any word, Balikis beat her to it. "You are 15 and you are this small? Wallah, I thought she was around 10, Balikis says bewilderedly. When a girl child is not well fed, their growth will be slow compared to a well fed child, Hajiya Zainab said knowingly. "Don't worry, Fati," Balikis said assuringly. "With time, everything will change." Fatima smiled without saying a word, but deep in her heart, she hoped for things to change for the better. After Fatima finished her meal, Balikis leaned forward slightly. "Fatima," she began, her tone calm and reassuring. "I brought you here because we want to help you, but also you will help us." Fatima listened attentively. "You see, my mother, her last child, Mariam, is already in the university," Balikis continued, "so there is no one at home to assist her with small errands." She paused briefly. "You will help her with little errands, nothing too stressful. Maybe cooking sometimes, serving food, or buying things when needed, and also keeping her apartment clean. There are people who do all this, but they are far away in their quarters. She needs someone who will stay by her side in her apartment." Fatima's eyes remained fixed on her as she listened to everything attentively. At the same time, Balikis added, "We will sponsor your education from now till you said you are okay, and depending on your characters, we may take care of your marriage too." Fatima blinked. She did not see that coming. Everything she was hearing was more than what she had expected. They are too good to be true. "You will go to school," Balikis repeated. "After school, each day you come here, assist my mother, then go home after dinner." She continued, "On weekends, you come from morning till evening. Of course, you will leave again after dinner." Fatima's heart was pounding now. "All we ask," Balikis said firmly, "is that you are obedient, truthful, and responsible." Her voice became slightly serious. Do not lie. Do not lie. Do not do anything that will break her trust. If you behave well, you will have no problem here." Hajiya Zainab nodded quietly in agreement. Balikis smiled again. "If this is okay with you, come tomorrow." She paused. "My elder brother is around. He will take you to school and enroll you. Then you can start properly next time. This time is over already. Most schools were already writing their exams." Fatima breathed cut. Everything is happening too fast. "Not just any school," Balikis added. "A private school. The same school we all attended." Fatima eyes widened in belief. "A private school?" she asked, her voice shaking. "Yes," Balikis replied. "One of the best in the state." Fatima was speechless. What she would be gaining is more than what she will be given. Could it be that I am dreaming? She thought inwardly, and at the same time, hit herself. The pain she felt made her realize that she wasn't dreaming. Everything was happening for real. In that school, Balikis continued, you will learn and also meet people, build connections. Those connections can help shape your life, your future. She looked directly at Fatima, but it depends on you, your character, your behavior, how you relate with your classmates, and everyone in the school. Fatima could barely hold herself together. Everything felt unreal. Come tomorrow, Badeki said again softly. My brother will handle everything else. For a moment, Fatima just stared at him. Then suddenly she slid down from her seat and knelt on the floor. Tears filled her eyes. The tears weren't because she was sad, they were because she was happy, too happy. Thank you. Thank you very much, she said, her voice trembling. I will not disappoint you. She placed her hand together tightly. I promise, inshallah, I will not disappoint you. Her voice broke slightly. And one day, I will repay this kindness. I don't know how, but inshallah, I will repay it in whatever way possible. Hajjah Zainab smiled warmly. You don't have to repay anything. Just be a good girl. That is all we need from you. I will give my best, inshallah. This will be the end of today's episode. Thank you for watching, for listening. Let's meet again for another interesting one. I remain your humble host. Until we meet again, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.